And how have you found AI usage to play in with SEO and Google rankings, that kind of thing?
It's very innovative from ability to create content, assist on expanding specific topics. If you know how to program specific chats, you can build up knowledge bases to really expand information pretty rapidly. You can utilize it for social posts pretty effectively. But it's interesting because you have to almost like teach it and prompt it, but you either do that, you either teach another human to do it, or you take your time and you're like, it's worth like giving GPT another 3 sentences to be like, you kind of missed it. I wanted you to go to this direction because you went that direction. And it's like, okay, cool. Let me try again.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Levin Nalbandyan, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Harry Handles It podcast. We have Zach Hoffman here with us today, who is the founder and CEO of Exults. Zach, good afternoon. How you doing?
Doing awesome, Harry. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How's your day going?
Pretty good so far.
Awesome.
Pretty good. Excited to talk to you about digital marketing. Can you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I have a background in, essentially now digital marketing. I've been doing it for 18 plus years. Studied finance and economics, graduated in 2005. So there wasn't really like a defined area of digital marketing. It was still when we were all on MySpace and Facebook, you needed a .edu college email to get on. So it started way back then. So I've been at the game for a while and seen a lot of evolutions of the space. And there's one thing for sure. It's not going to keep changing. It's going to keep changing. That's the way of saying it.
I definitely got what you meant. So, I mean, you've been in the digital marketing game, it seems like since the beginning, since it started.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the different ways it's evolved since then?
Well, it's continued to evolve. I mean, the bandwidth has allowed for like more, I would say, awesome video to come to life that wasn't there before. I say Google is still the OG and continues to like dominate the space in a lot of ways. And then you have Instagram, which basically say Facebook, and you have a lot of things that have like come and gone throughout the journey. It's interesting because I just made a PowerPoint for career day at my kid's school. So I was like, am I a digital marketer or am I an entrepreneur? Like a little bit of both, right? Like just like you're an attorney and you're an entrepreneur as well, right?
That's right. That's right. It's not just one hat.
Exactly. And now we have AI coming into the game. So if you're in tech and you're looking to survive, and you survive and thrive, AI is definitely, I would say that's the next big thing. But there's so many nodes to AI as to where it's going to go.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. In what context does AI come up in a digital marketing world or marketing world?
Well, so I would call myself more of like a digital agency guy. So I've done a lot of I am of the 80s, so I'm like Zach the Lego maniac. I love to just like build things. So when we started messing with AI, we actually dove into the legal space because we saw what a mediation document might look like or a medical record. And I don't know how you guys read those, but somebody does, right?
Yes.
But GPT and some, specific models that have zero data retention can really do an effective job in reading like what would take hours and literally minutes. So we've built a pretty effective tool on the back of OpenAI's API to assist in that area. But I would say with like AI, a lot of people are asking it to do a lot of things, and it's a long journey as to like everything that it can cover.
That's a good point. But I mean, in terms of just outside of the medical record scheme and building mediation briefs and things like that with AI, is there a specific AI tool that you've used in the digital marketing world that you found useful for your clients?
Oh, I mean, definitely when it comes to on the digital marketing side and just AI, when you're not looking to have to utilize like zero data retention and some things that, you as an attorney to like meet bar standards, like you have to keep confidentiality. So if you can take any data and information and utilize AI to essentially just have fun with it. There's a lot of cool ways to develop campaigns. Ask AI for opinions, or even for mock-ups, or just to just without having to take hours of a human to give you a view of what you might want to see. You could ask AI for it, and it'll give it to you in minutes.
Yeah,
Or
it's a
even
good point.
seconds.
It's pretty fast. It's wild. I've used AI image generation and used it in PowerPoints during trial, and it's incredible the stuff that we can do with that technology now.
Oh, and Sora was just released by OpenAI, so I recommend you go out and check that out. That's where you can produce videos and additional
Wow. All right.
content.
Well, thanks for that.
Yep, for sure.
So, what motivated you to start Exultis? What unique vision did you have when you started?
So when I started Exults, essentially, I didn't necessarily start as Exults. Essentially, I've rebranded along the journey. So when I got into the game, I was searchengineoperator.com, because I was kind of going all the way. If you had to call the operator to get onto the search engine, may as well do that. And then I was domaining, so I got SEO.cc, because one of my good buddies goes, "Well, how would you spell search engine operator?" And I'm like, "It's not that difficult," but he brings up a good point. So I bought SEO.cc, and then that became my brand. And then from there, I took SEO.cc. I wasn't really selling a lot of SEO. And, there's I was selling a lot more services, because all of our clients were like, "You're really great at this. My web designer doesn't pick up the phone," or "This one doesn't respond in a timely fashion. So can you handle my web design? Can you do my paid ads? Can you do my social media?" So kind of built up from there. And, as Dave Chappelle said, just because you look like something doesn't mean you are something, right? So it's I was like, hey, we're not purely SEO, but surely when people see the brand name, they're associating that's what we specialize in. So we evolved. I was sitting in a meeting, and this lady was like, "I need excellent results, expedited results, and I need them tomorrow." And the light bulb just went off in my head. I wrote down Exults. I found it was an actual word, was able to buy it in the aftermarket. It means to rejoice as a result of a success. So Exults stands for driving excellent results. And as a marketer myself, just continue to evolve and build the brand up.
And how big is your team now? And do you have a specific specialty for the agency?
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot more into legal marketing and assisting law firms and developing leads that turn into clients and cases. But also, essentially, our team is 30 plus right now. But with AI coming into the picture over the past year, it's been augmenting a lot of just abilities on the team. So it's been pretty awesome.
And how have you found AI usage to play in with SEO and Google rankings, that kind of thing?
It's very innovative, from ability to create content, assist on expanding specific topics. If you know how to program specific chats, you can build up knowledge bases to really expand information pretty rapidly. You can utilize it for social posts pretty effectively. You can utilize it for mock-ups, like I was saying, to see a design idea. If you're like, "Hey, take this website, make it a little bit more modern," or give me a little bit of a different spin on it. Even I'm working on another campaign. I was asking it for script ideas, but it's interesting because you have to almost teach it and prompt it. But you either do that, you either teach another human to do it, or you take your time and you're like, it's worth giving GPT another 3 sentences to be like, "You kind of missed it. I wanted you to go this direction because you went that direction." And it's like, "Okay, cool. Let me try again." And get your response.
That's wild. Can you talk to us a little bit about team building and leadership and marketing and how that's intertwined?
Yeah. Team building, leadership, and what was the last? Sorry.
In marketing and how that plays together.
Yeah. So team building, leadership. I mean, it's it's a heavy topic in a lot of ways. Definitely. Pre-COVID, I had a full office of people, just right in the in my immediate vicinity, and that kind of evolved everything, I would say, in a lot of ways. But essentially, managing a team, I think investing in people long term is really critical, and maintaining people for a long time definitely assists in creating a culture and a strong company, a strong foundation. So we invest a lot in our people and our team, and continue to maintain a lot of those relationships. I mean, those are critical to, I say, building an effective company as well as an effective team.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you there. That's kind of the hardest part about leadership is, for me at least, developing the team and the different stages of leadership that are for the team.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a big learning process that I never understood or went through coming up.
Well, it's, there's a portion of you that has to be a giver in order to build effectively. Everybody thinks, I think, that owners or founders are like that. They're in it for a certain reason. It's like the amount that, I mean, you're an entrepreneur yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So the amount that you give to your team, like energy wise, time wise, financially, I mean, it goes, they get paid first usually. So, right.
Absolutely.
Because you'll still show up. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to show up.
Exactly, as the owner, exactly. You'll still show up. So, you definitely need to make sure they get paid first. So there's there's a lot when it comes to ownership that I think, people watching, they definitely think it's a little bit more smoother than it is. So
Big time. What trends do you see now in digital marketing that are hot topics or hot strategies that you've seen work for your clients?
So just hot topics, hot strategies. It definitely, look, social media is becoming a bigger and bigger picture, bigger and bigger play. Utilizing like videos, live videos, as well as like podcasts and different ways to get like rich media to really connect with an audience versus like static photos and image and content. I think is becoming very, very effective in a lot of ways. But it's just just digital in general. There's, I guess, being in the art in the game for a long time, like there's a few funnels I know like drive results like now and today. And like if I was to like shut some things off, like I would never recommend anybody shuts off their like Google ads or their like meta remarketing. But when it comes to like creating fresh content or organic content, like those are things you could slow down, may not get as noticed as much in the bottom line or like, when you're producing revenue. But trend wise, definitely it's look, it's just not, it's not a one funnel game. It's not just, you can't just dominate one funnel and expect, amazing results. You almost have to be everywhere because a lot of consumers are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, Google, Bing, OpenAI, ChatGPT searching. And so, but I'd say majority are still on Google and a lot of people are on Facebook and Instagram. And then there's the rest of the pack. So,
And that's funny because I've always seen marketing to be that way. It's a multidisciplinary front and a multi-strategy.
yeah.
It's not like it was before where you could just hang up your own shingle, buy a few leads, and you'll do okay. I feel like the way that people consume information, the way that people are attracted to marketing is totally different than it was, back in the day where you could just buy a couple leads and that was your marketing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I even spoke to somebody earlier today where it was, you say, oh, the website hasn't really generated me much, but I get a lot of referrals and they say they saw my website. I'm like, well, if your website didn't effectively communicate and connect with them or your social media didn't communicate and connect with them, that referral may have never called you. Right. So, that website being an effective cornerstone of your digital presence actually got you that new client because they then converted. So, yeah, there's a lot of aspects of digital marketing, and I believe that you're a big investor in digital marketing yourself, correct?
Yeah, I mean that's where more most of our marketing efforts go.
Yeah. So what mediums do you find most effective?
PPC, LSA, SEO. I mean,
Mhm.
all of the above. Client referrals, the traditional type of marketing for our own clients that pays pretty well in terms of dividends.
Nice.
We haven't touched the traditional front yet, radio, billboards, but talking about the multi-disciplinary and multi-front marketing, I think that's just one of the strategies that you can employ.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean LSAs personally, I think they're a little finicky at times. Some people have tried to build practices off them and then they freak out. LSAs don't work, and I'm like, I told you so. Definitely, there's certain aspects of like what I'm starting to tell a lot of just like consumers that we speak to, which are B2B or like clients or firms themselves. It's like, look, when you're producing a TV spot, produce a TV spot for Instagram and Facebook and like for YouTube. Like, take that same dollars and attitude. Like, if I was going to air this on NBC or Fox or ABC, like spend those same resources, 25, 50K, whatever it's going to be on like a 30-second spot, and produce it as though you're going to run it on those major mediums, but just run it on Facebook and IG where you currently are. Like, don't underinvest in the assets that you're going to be playing online, because I would say, like, look, the traditional media is just jealous of what digital is actually doing, and the gates have come down on content distribution. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's growing up, this kind of a platform and having this kind of a medium was nothing that anybody, I think, imagined, to be able to start your own podcast, bring people on, distribute the content so easily. How has that shaped how you advise your law firm clients for their social media strategy game?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, I've had the benefit of marketing for some of the biggest advertisers doing lead gen on a national basis. So there's very few people in those packs that actually do that. And then when you see, it's just like, so I'm like a student of the trade. I'm born in 81, so I consume. How about yourself? Like, about how, like, ballpark?
90. So
90s?
not too far apart.
What's that? Yeah. So it's like, but there's formative things we all saw growing up, right? Like, we saw OJ in a Bronco when we're watching the NBA finals. Like, you couldn't turn it off, and it was during the holidays. Like, you saw like certain things on TV that like TV was like feeding you. Like, you couldn't escape that trial, right? Like, if you turned on NBC for like a few years, you were watching
Everywhere.
the Simpsons trial, right? Or like, you see like certain events in our life that, like, if you turned on the television, like, you were watching that. Even, just like, there's so many events in our life like that. Like, just, I guess media controlled the consumption. Like, you couldn't change the station, essentially. Like, whatever they wanted you to see is essentially what you saw. So where we go forward now today is, like I was saying, it's like those old mediums, there's still a lot to be learned. Like, the ability to, I would say, amplify specific messaging, or to treat the medium as though you're only going to get 15 seconds or 30 seconds of a consumer's time, that it's really important that you treat that time effectively, and that you get the message across. And that, like, when you're looking at like creating a piece, that you should have like a cornerstone or a milestone like messaging piece that gets across your message effectively. I mean, look, in injury law specifically, like, you have Morgan and Morgan throughout the country, with like a lot of their messaging of like how they kind of communicate one message across the country, where size does matter, or like, and that's totally ripping off Viagra campaign, or like, old campaigns that we saw of little blue pills. But it's like, it's like taking like great notes, like, great advertising from Ogilvy is like in short snippets of 3 to 5 words, of like, that's like, some of the messaging in the 80s, 90s is like, it's got to be concise. And then even before that, though, like, language used to be an art. Like, there's like an old article or use case of like how L'Oreal was built on like a love letter of like why women wore lipstick, and like why it was like a thing to like leave your mark. So there's a lot of like cool things in marketing that you could read about, of like how they've kind of like told stories over time. And like, storytelling is not something that is ever going to go out of style, essentially. Storytelling is very important. So every brand has to have like a story or a concise and quick message to, I think really, understand where somebody's going to get it.
In this world of 30-second reels, 15-second reels, how would a law firm position themselves to be able to get a message across? Or does it depend on what strategy you're running? You can say that this one marketing campaign is marketing to give our consumers this message, or do you want the message to be the same every time?
There is a art to jingles, but like, if Harry handles it, or Harry's going to handle it, or there's like a lot of ways to almost like, kind of like drum in that line to almost like every piece of messaging or every collateral that you put out there. There's a lot of ways to, I think, like just create a story loop, or like create consistency, even if you're going out there and creating a lot of messaging. The beauty of, I would say, all these distribution channels and networks is like you could put out 50 to 100 pieces of content, and then you could be like, well, these 5 pieces of content, people actually like, they actually connected with it. Like they actually like liked it, or they looked at it, or the algorithm shot it up because it was something that was relevant to a lot of people. So then you build on that piece of content. So that should be your like roadmap for essentially what you saw. It's a scientific experiment. Like you can take that roadmap and just keep utilizing that. And then when you want to throw something fresh out there, you can throw another thing out there and see how people react and just keep building.
And what role do you and your team play in that process?
So we gather a lot of data. I mean, we see what converts. There's a lot of information that we put out there. We assist clients in helping them craft specific messages, or even, directing them of where they have to go. And sometimes the truth hurts, and you got to be able to tell people like, hey, this is broken, or you have to fix it, or your dialogue and communication isn't as concise as it could or should be. So really providing those guidelines and the roadmap to get people to the next level.
And have you had any marketing strategies that were unconventional that yielded some asymmetrical results for some of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I would say when somebody's willing to put themselves out there and go a little bit more like outside the beaten path and like, test something or
We'll fight for you.
Yeah, or produce a jingle, or like really, put resources and time into really coming up with like a pretty badass idea. Like even, one of our clients is doing a commercial shoot, and they're going to film, the company told them they're filming like 7 commercials in like 3 hours. I'm like, that's a big undertaking. I'm like, good luck filming. I'm like, you're up for Hollywood if you're filming 7 30-second commercials in 2.5 hours. I mean, you got to give yourself like reasonable time and reality to like really produce great pieces. And not everything happens in one cut or one reel typically, especially when you're trying to bring great content to life. Like there's a lot of businesses and concepts that are built off like a really like home run 30-second, 60-second piece. It's like, if you think about it and you watch the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah. So how many $3 million spots are you really ever going to buy? Right. So, when you're watching those spots, like you got to think like for every 3 million they spend on that one run, they probably spent like 5 to 10, $20 million on the actual creative. And they spent a lot of money. They might've spent 2 years producing that 30 seconds. And if you think of some of the most effective campaigns, or brands out there, like their tearjerker campaigns, some of them like Google, like there's numerous campaigns they've run during the Super Bowl that have made me cry. Nike, there's campaigns that they've run where it, emotionally connects with you and will make you cry. So it, it depends on the brands and what they're trying to do, but those masterful pieces that you see that are done, there's a lot to be said to like really creating, I think, like home run content that can ride for a while.
Does your team help with creating that content, or do you put law firms in touch with different teams who can create that kind of creative content for that strategy?
A combination of factors. Definitely, there's a number of people that, there's a number of associates and contacts that we have as well. I like to like be a piece of some of that stuff because I just think it's fun. It's an actual art. Like it's not, you can't really, delegate artistry or just like, effective communication at times. But if there's like a few spots that like you can watch or see in media that like when you show them to people, if you get the concepts, like where it's like they're home run pieces that really, like I said, they emotionally connect with the humanity of a lot of people, and it's just there's great art in marketing communication.
Yeah, I feel like the best marketing pieces are the ones that are artistic, that do capture your attention, that do leave an imprint. Because how many I don't know. You're in Florida, so you see a lot of billboards.
Yeah.
How many billboards do you see with two guys on the billboard with, dollar signs in the back? That's not very memorable.
I mean, it does have its impact. I mean, look, there's a lot of that in the country. There's a lot of the, campaigns that have been built up over time where they have those, challenge with legal marketing or just marketing in general is that point of interest when somebody actually is like ready to buy, or like in your instance where somebody gets into an injury and essentially they go boom, and then all the adrenaline kicks. They forgot everything they've ever seen, and you have to be that next 30 or 60 seconds they saw, or your campaign has to be that effective, or your phone number has to be that great that they like remember, and they're like, oh, I'm going to call, that number because they know it off the top of their head, because it was just that effectively communicated, or they just recalled it. When it comes to billboards, it's a challenging medium, but it's also, there's a lot of cities in this country where you'll see, a lot of communications, and things have to like stand out or just kind of like pop in your memory to have a long-term impact.
Yeah. Well, Zach, thank you. We've been going for a while now. There's a great conversation today. A lot more to learn about digital marketing and traditional marketing. Tell our viewers how they can find you.
For sure. You can find me at exults.com. As well, just if you want to reach out, you can find me on the internet, Zach Hoffman. Just give me a search. But definitely appreciate the time, Harry.
Thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you liked what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.